Tying up another wet fly from Ray Bergman's Trout today. This is called the Kinross. I don't know much about the history on this fly really. Part of the reason I'm tying it is because it is in the book Trout, but I just think it's a very handsome fly. Way back in the day when I got into fly fishing and fly tying, for some reason, a lot of these wet flies really spoke to me. Now, I grew up in warm water country, not fishing for trout. So I didn't have anybody in my family as a young boy who fly fished, let alone tied, and could expose me to these types of flies. But for some reason, the wet flies really just kind of, like I said, spoke to me. And it's this style of wet fly. It's the colors, the kind of all natural colors, but throwing in some barred wood duck on that, or the kinds that have, some golden pheasant crest or something unique in there that just, I always thought were just some of the prettiest flies. So that's part of the reason why I'm doing the Kinross today. It's just a handsome little fly. So that's the Kinross. I'll go ahead and get started tying. So I'm going to start the Kinross with my hook and the vise. This is a Mustad 3399 standard wet fly hook. I'm going to debarb that hook and I'm going to attach my thread. There is a olive green body on this, so I'm going to start out with a Danville 70 denier in white for the kind of the underbody under that floss. I don't want to darken that floss down. The Kinross has a tail, no tag, has a floss body and rib. I'm going to lay down a base layer of thread. I'm going to get about just past the point of the hook and tie in the tail. The tail is wood duck or Mandarin, and I'm using, this is a white-tipped wood duck feather. A lot of times it's just referred to as a barred wood duck. I'm going to snip out maybe about 1/8 of an inch or so of that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold that over like this so that I have the nice, more pronounced dark side of those barbs sticking out. I'm going to tie this in so it's a shank length, maybe a little bit more than a shank length long. I want to keep that right on top of the hook shank. I'm going to keep wrapping down to the end of the shank, which is right about the barb, maybe a little in front of the barb, and that will have the tail tied in. Trim this the length of the body, and now I can tie in my rib. The rib is a silver tinsel. I'm using a Danville size 16-18 silver and gold Mylar tinsel. I'm going to attach this with the gold side up. Pull that down to the length of the body. Get a wrap in there to secure that, and then tie in my floss. It's a olive green floss, is what's called for. I'm using a uni floss in an olive color. This is off the spool, it's a single strand floss, but one strand of this is about equal to 2 of the Danville 4-strand Rayon. So what I'm going to do is cut that, take out a length and cut it in half and double it over so I have 2 strands of this uni floss in here. Pull that back to the length of the body, and then I'll put some wax on my thread, and I'll wrap forward, collecting that down to the hook shank. Wax is there, just gives me a better grip on that material as I'm tying that in. You can put some more on here if you want. as you're going up. I usually find once I get about halfway up the hook shank, the material's getting lashed down well enough, and it's just a matter of preference. I generally don't put more wax on it, but you could. With my thread now at the end of the body, I'm going to apply that floss and then the rib. Away the excess rib, and that gets my body and tail in. And now I'm ready to attach the black thread to finish this off. Black thread is going to be a Danville 70 denier in black. The rest of the Kinross has a wing that's made of some dark mottled turkey, as well as a olive green hackle. Bringing my thread back to the end of the headspace here. I've got some darker mottled green, mottled turkey here, not green, but mottled turkey. I've got my right slip and my left slips cut out. I'll match those up. I want to get the tips matched up first. And then I will, once the tips are matched up, I will take a look at the width, and it's a little bit wider than I like. Although both slips are pretty even, I'm going to go with that. I'm going to tie this in so the tip's about halfway down the tail. A few turns to secure that. Trim away the excess. Now I'm going to go up to the eye of the hook, lashing in those butt ends and just securing that down. For the green and olive hackle, I've got it's more of a dry fly, but it's not like a genetic dry fly saddle. But the barbs on these are more for dry flies. They're stiffer. They don't have as many barbules on them. But it's a nice olive green, and the length is what I'm looking for. And I can wrap this in, get about 4 turns to get a nice full collar on this. If you wanted to do something softer, certainly if you had the right color of hen or something like that, then you could certainly do that. I haven't found with a lot of these wet flies that they specifically call for rooster versus hen hackles, on these collars. The throats, I think, generally tend to go for a softer hackle like a schlappen or a hen. But the collars, I think, can be either one. I think it's a preference. I may be wrong. And it also may be just dependent on the particular fly pattern. Once that's secured in after 4 wraps, I'll sweep this back, getting all of those swept back behind the eye. Start forming the head, moving backwards from the eye. Once I get most of the head made, I can pop off the rest of this hackle. Get a few more wraps in here working backwards. And finish the head. I got the shape all done. Now I can flatten my thread out and get a whip finish in and some head cement on this. So now I'll get some head cement on this and let that soak in. I'll come back and put I think a couple layers of a clear lacquer on there and then another layer of black lacquer on there to finish off the Kinross. Just a handsome little fly. Reminds me of the Lackey's Grant Lake that I did a video on a week ago with the turkey wing and the olive body. But this one I thought was a little more handsome with the wood duck, the barred wood duck tail. So that is the Kinross from Ray Bergman's book Trout. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support as it really does help the creation of these videos. But what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.